welcome back to another episode of Stories of Horror. Another episode we dive into the mysteries and the unknowns of the world. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Without further ado, hit the intro. Greetings, people, and welcome back to another episode of Stories of Horror. This is episode 10, and we do a dive into an infamous, horrific story about edgein. If you guys probably seen before on Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Leatherface movies, anything involving that term or that phrase has came from edgein, the inspiration, or I should say the kind of like the bad inspiration from edgein. And we're going to break down and get into the story, his history, and talk about some of the horrific things that happened in that story and the tragic things that happened a long, long time ago. So let's get into it. Edgein, also known as the Butcher of Plainfield, also known as Leatherface, was born in August 27, 1906 in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Edgein had a very challenging childhood. His father was an alcoholic and his mother was abusive towards him. Gein's mother was verbally abusive towards him, belittling him and tearing him down mentally. But even though she did that to Gein, he idolized his mother. Gein's older brother used to find that relationship concerning, so he used to confront his mother in Gein's presence, basically defending his brother. In 1944, Henry died in a very mysterious way, an unknown way, and he died in a fire near the family farm. Gein reported his brother missing, but he led the police right to the body of his brother, who he said he hadn't seen. Now, basically, what you get from that, Gein had a tough upbringing. We see a lot of most of these stories about, either serial killers or people who have twisted minds, with a tough upbringing, and a lot of things kind of built up inside of them, and especially back in the 40s. In the 40s, they really focused on mental health and stuff. So a lot of guys in the old days probably had some mental health issues, and probably went to the doctor to get checked out. Probably thought it was nothing. Probably thought you just suck it up and just go out there and just stop crying, stop doing that, and probably build up. But having an alcoholic father and having a abusive mother, and verbally abusive, that kind of steer his path, and him idolizing his mother. You should never idolize anybody. I mentioned that before in the past video. Don't idolize anybody. Everybody's human, just like you, but he didn't have it wasn't like a respect or a love. It was like idolization. He wanted to be like his mother or be his mother. It was kind of in a weird sense. And him saying that he didn't know what his brother was, and he led the police right to the body, it's kind of weird. And the cops actually didn't accuse him of being the one that did the crime. I thought they say he was innocent, even though he led them to the body after he said he didn't know what happened to him. But that's later into the story we'll get into right now. The body was covered with bruises on the head, and the body was burned. Even with the evidence of the potential homicide, the police deemed this an accident. Now, we know in the old days, the law wasn't the best. And even though they seen the bruises on his head, and they seen that Gein said that he know where his brother went, and he found his brother's body, you'd think that you'll lead to clues like, okay, you lied to us about this, not knowing where he was, and you found his body. He got bruises on his head, and you really don't have a concern about him. So you might be the number one suspect. But in the old days, the law was a little different. And some of the stories that you see, about some of these serial killers getting away with it, Dean Corll getting away with that stuff he did in Houston, the Candyman. We might talk about him later down the line on the show. And then guys like Jeffrey Dahmer, how the police I don't know, they kind of basically have really too much common sense, and they really didn't go with the evidence. They basically needed concrete proof with him in the act of doing something to accuse them of anything. And back in the old days, now it's a little different. They have all these different guys, and the CIA come in there and they do their thing. The homicide detectives go in there and do their stuff. Forensic scientists go in there and work their magic with the blood and with seeing things around and picking up DNA and stuff. But in the old days, they didn't have all that, and they wasn't really that bright. It seemed like it, so they allowed a lot of things to happen. In 1945, Gein's mother died, and it left him in a distant state. He idolized his mother almost like a god. He even blocked off areas of his home where his mother used and made it into something of a shrine. Like I mentioned before in the story, Gein idolized his mother in it wasn't like love. It was almost trying to become like his mother, like a obsession a little bit. And he kind of blocked off, even though she was verbally abusive too. I don't know what that phrase is. I remember they said when some people it's a little different context, but some people get like kidnapped and they kind of become in love with the person that kidnapped them. I forgot what it's called, but it's kind of like that similar thing. But he wasn't kidnapped though, but he was getting abused and verbally abused by his mother. But he idolized her almost like a god, like a savior or something. He blocked her off, her areas off of the home where she used to go to and use, and kind of like had it like almost like a sacred temple or shrine or something that he had in his home, which was kind of crazy. Gein was suspected to have taken several victims between 1954 and 1957. Investigators found the remains of 10 women in Gein's home, but he was only linked to just 2 murders: Bernice Warden and Mary Hogan, who both resembled his mother. Ed was very twisted-minded. He wore human skin, human scalps and faces. Ed also had a desire to be a woman. He used to wear a vest of skin of female breasts and genitalia. Like I mentioned before, in the past, he had an obsession with his mother. So I guess he wanted to become his mother. So he used to like wear a vest of human skin with female breasts and genitalia, pinning over his own genitals and stuff like that. So he was kind of obsessed and kind of like a twisted mind. I don't know if it was like, I don't know what it was exactly, but he was schizophrenic. I don't know if I said that right. Hopefully I said it right. But so I don't know what that draws into it. I'm not super familiar with that. But he had a lot of different things that he got diagnosed with when he was in a mental institution. But this was kind of like part of the story where he kind of like went off the rails. He went off the rails after his mother passed, and he went and like did some horrific crimes, and some of the stuff he did was very brutal. The 2 women that Gein killed via gun and not chainsaw, like the movies portray. One of the women, Bernice, was found hanging from the rafters in a shed behind Gein's house. Her body was gutted and her head was removed. The police also found a lot of horrific things in Gein's home, which was a shoebox containing female genitalia, a belt made of nipples, a vest made of women's breasts, a human heart in a bag, human skulls used as bowls, a suit of human skin, and a human organs in a refrigerator. Gein was found not guilty by reason of insanity and sentenced to life imprisonment in a psychiatric institution. The institution diagnosed him with schizophrenia and said he was a sexual psychopath. Now, that was some crazy things that was found in Gein's home. Some very horrific things found in Gein's home. He died in 1984, which was about, 38 years ago. So that was like recent ago, but he was not found guilty of the stuff because of he actually was diagnosed with some mental illness like that. So he had some things that was in tied with it. You know, in the old days, like I said before, they didn't really focus on that stuff or pay attention to that things like that. I think nowadays, of course, they are very focused on mental health and issues and mental illness. But in the old days, they really didn't focus on that in the 40s and the 30s and stuff. You know, now in sports, we got a lot of things they focus on, about CTE, and concussions lead to different things, mental illness, and depression, a lot of different things that drawn into it, thanks to like people actually speaking up about it and not thinking that they're weak or vulnerable if they say it, but like you actually strong, diagnosed, like going in and get looked at and maybe getting diagnosed or getting treatment, so like they actually strong to like stand up and like say, I'm not feeling good or I'm not feeling that. But in the old days, that not happened. And Gein, his path went down a different way. Like it's kind of a lot of things in life can lead you down different paths. We see a lot of people who have bad childhoods, and some of them say, you know what, I'm gonna grow, or bad childhoods or bad lives in general. Like some people might say, hey, I'll make a change. I'm gonna inspire. I'm gonna like make a change to some kids who had a similar upbringing like me, and try to make sure they never have to go through that again. Or some people might say, you know what, I'm already in darkness, so let me just live in darkness even more. Like you compare it to like anything in life. You look at like in comic book comparisons, you look at Batman and Joker. That's the perfect comparison. Batman, parents was taken from him as a child. Instead of him saying, you know what, forget it, I don't care what happens, he said, I'm gonna go out there and do something about it. Joker had a crazy upbringing. I believe Joker parents, he didn't really know his father too much. I think his parents died and some different things happened, and the way the world treated him like that. The Joker movie was a perfect. It was perfected, showing a lot of different things how Gotham made him, and he chose a path of darkness, saying, you know what, the world destroyed me, and people destroyed me, so I'm gonna go ahead and give them the same favor and reflect everything that they did on me back to them. So sometimes it's like a fine line. A decision can be made. People might have a similar upbringing, but one decision, one choice can like change their past like that. And Ed Gein was probably one of those guys who didn't get the help that he needed attention. His brother cared for. It seemed like his brother cared for him. The way they portrayed his brother, and the way his brother was like, talked about in the articles and documentaries and stuff. But like his brother was murdered. I think Gein had obsession with his mother, so he thought his brother was probably like kind of like basically scorning his mother. He thought his brother was against him, against his mother or something like that. Even though his brother was trying to stand up for him like that because of the way his mother treated him. But when he like in that mindset and he's kind of obsessed and like his mind don't think like the rest, like think like a normal person thinks. It kind of like strayed him to that way. So I believe he probably killed his brother, even though he wasn't like charged with that crime. I believe he probably did. But the edgein story is a very crazy story, a very twisted story. But yeah, that's all I got for this video today, guys. If you like videos like this, leave a like and subscribe. Leave some comments and like let me know some video suggestions. Let me know what you think about the video in general, and we'll try to do more of these like this here and there. And tune in next week for a Christmas special. This will be a very good video as well. But I'll see you guys next time on the channel. Peace out.